Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow for the full story, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything about how we treat people on airplanes. The cabin air was thick, not with turbulence, but tension. Malik Johnson, a 22-year-old university student, had boarded the flight early through pre-boarding as arranged. A journalism major with sharp eyes and a quiet confidence, he wheeled himself down the narrow aisle with the help of a friendly staff member. His seat, 14C, was right where it needed to be. On the aisle, close to the front, near the lavatory, as designated by the airline's own accessibility assistance policy. He had booked it weeks in advance, double-checked it, triple-checked it. Because flying with a disability meant one thing: always be prepared for things to go wrong. But nothing could have prepared him for what was about to happen. The passengers filed in. Malik kept to himself, watching the blur of feet pass by. Most people didn't even make eye contact, but he was used to that. Then came the moment. A flight attendant, tall, blonde, polished, stopped beside him. Her name tag read Cheryl. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Sir, I'm going to need you to move to another seat," she said in a firm, almost cheerful tone. Malik blinked. Sorry, I have assistant seating. This is the seat I reserved." Cheryl's smile thinned. "Yes, but this seat is close to the aisle and might cause congestion. We're trying to make it more comfortable for everyone boarding." That's when the red flags shot up in his mind. Everyone else's comfort. At my expense? He calmly explained again, even pulling up the airline policy on his phone. But Cheryl was already signaling to another attendant. "Can we help move this gentleman to 27F? The back row has space." 27F, the very last row. No aisle access, no bathroom access, no dignity. The silence that followed was deafening. You could hear a pin drop if it weren't for the sound of Malik's heart racing. Then something unexpected happened. The man sitting across the aisle, older, white, with kind eyes, spoke up. "I'm happy to switch with him," he said, gesturing to his own seat further up, still accessible. Cheryl didn't even hesitate. "That won't be necessary." "Wait, what?" "Not thank you. Not let's check." Just a firm refusal. The moment cracked something inside Malik, not from weakness, but from rage. He felt the weight of years of silent endurance pressing down on him like cabin pressure at 30,000 feet. But he didn't shout. He didn't scream. He pulled out his phone and pressed record. "Can you please explain why I'm being asked to move seats that I pre-booked for accessibility?" Cheryl hesitated now, sensing the shift. "Sir, please don't record." "But why not?" he asked, voice steady. "If you have nothing to hide?" The camera stayed focused, steady, capturing every blink, every twitch. That video would go viral in less than 12 hours. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. There's a reason some people are afraid of flying, and it's not turbulence. The tension didn't ease as the last few passengers boarded. Malik was still in his seat at 14C, clutching his phone tightly. The red recording dot blinked like a heartbeat. Across the aisle, Cheryl stood rigid, flanked now by a second flight attendant. The moment was frozen in awkward silence, except for the low hum of the engines outside, building in the background like a warning. "I'm not moving," Malik said again, calmly but resolutely. And then came the voice. "Excuse me, ma'am," said a woman, standing 4 rows behind with a phone angled discreetly. "Why exactly can't he stay there?" It was subtle, but it changed everything. Passengers started turning, looking, whispering. Cheryl's lips parted, but no words came out. She looked behind her, expecting backup. The second attendant leaned in and whispered something. Cheryl's jaw clenched. Malik noticed the flicker in her eyes. Fear. Not of him, but of the optics. She looked at Malik again, this time with less authority. "Let me speak with the captain," and she disappeared behind the curtain. Malik turned to the woman with the phone. She smiled, barely. "I'm recording too," she whispered. "Don't let them gaslight you." 2 cameras, 2 truths, and an audience now quietly watching a scene that felt bigger than one seat. But then, minutes later, the curtain rustled, And Cheryl returned with a different expression. Calculated. Composed. We've discussed this with the captain, she said in a rehearsed tone. You may stay in your seat, but please understand that your presence near the aisle may still inconvenience other passengers. Inconvenience? Malik's voice cracked. Not from emotion, but from disbelief. You think my existence is inconvenient? That's when something in the cabin snapped. A woman in business attire a few rows ahead turned and spoke up. This is disgusting. And another voice. Let him sit in peace. And just like that, the silence broke. One by one, people began to speak, some standing halfway up from their seats. And yet, Cheryl didn't flinch. She smiled. That's when Malik understood something chilling. She wanted the outrage, because if things escalated, if voices got loud, the airline could blame him for disruption, for creating a scene, and worst of all, they could legally have him removed. It was a trap, psychological warfare mid-air. So Malik did the only thing he could do. He went quiet. But his phone kept recording. Meanwhile, in seat 22A, a man scrolled through social media, headphones around his neck. He had seen Malik board earlier, had noticed the exchange. He worked in digital media, and he recognized a story when he saw one. He leaned over to the woman beside him. Should I upload this now or wait till landing? She raised an eyebrow. Upload what? He tilted his phone to show her a short clip, barely 45 seconds, but enough to spark outrage. Her eyes widened. That's already viral potential. He smirked. Let's see what happens next. Back up front. Malik's phone buzzed, a message from a friend who worked in civil rights law. If they touch you, document everything. Record names. File ADA complaint immediately. You're protected. Malik inhaled deeply. And then, the captain's voice came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just moments away from takeoff. Please remain seated, stow all personal items, and prepare for departure. No mention of the incident. No apology. But Malik caught Cheryl looking at him again. This time there was no smile. Just something that looked a lot like defeat. Or was it calculation? Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because right now, things are about to get turbulent, and not because of the weather. The plane was finally in the air, cruising smoothly at 30,000 feet. But inside the cabin, silence hung like fog. Thick, awkward, and suffocating. Malik could still feel the tremor in his fingers. His wheelchair was locked in place. The camera was off now, but his thoughts were spinning. And then the stranger who had approached him before takeoff reappeared. He was tall, clean-shaven, maybe mid-40s, wearing a Navy sport coat. Not a flight attendant, not crew, a passenger. He crouched beside Malik's seat and spoke low enough for no one else to hear. My name's Russell. I'm an ADA investigator, off duty. I saw everything. Malik blinked. You what? Russell nodded. It started the moment she asked you to move. The way she framed it, the way she shut down the man who tried to help you. That wasn't a mistake. It's a pattern. I've documented 3 other cases with this airline. Malik's jaw tensed. She said I was causing congestion. She lied, Russell said flatly. And worse, she knew she could get away with it. That's why I'm here. I travel frequently to monitor discrimination complaints. You just happen to be seated in the same row as me. Coincidence or fate? Russell pulled out a small notebook and flipped it open, filled with scribbled notes, timestamps, and seat numbers. They've done this before, not always to people in wheelchairs, but always to people who don't fit the image they want in their premium rows. You mean people like me? Malik asked. Russell looked at him. No, I mean people who make them uncomfortable just by existing. That sentence hit Malik like cold air in a warm room. Back in row 22A, the digital media guy, his name was Josh, refreshed his upload stats. The clip was now at 26,000 views and climbing. He smiled, but something caught his eye. In the comments, someone had posted a screenshot. It was a complaint from last year. Different passenger. Same airline. Same seat number, 14C. Same attendant. Cheryl. He leaned forward and whispered to the woman next to him. You seeing this? She nodded slowly. We're not just watching a story, we're inside one. And then she added something chilling. But the real question is, how far will they go to keep it quiet? Meanwhile, Cheryl stood behind the curtain in the galley, clutching her tablet. Sweat beaded at her temples. She was texting someone, not another flight attendant. Someone higher up. He's filming everything, and there's another guy asking questions. Should we flag this? The reply came back quickly. No, keep it calm, no headlines. We'll handle it post-landing. Do not escalate. Cheryl exhaled and glanced toward Malik's row. He was talking to that man in the sport coat. She didn't know who he was. That made her nervous, but it also made her angry. She thought she had control of the narrative. Now, she wasn't so sure. Back at Malik's seat, Russell lowered his voice. I can't intervene mid-flight unless there's an immediate violation. But I can do something better. He handed Malik a card. It wasn't a business card. It was a witness affidavit slip with a QR code for passengers to anonymously submit what they saw. Real-time, time-stamped, legally traceable. Get as many passengers as you can to fill it out, quietly. Don't explain too much. Just say, if you saw anything strange during boarding, this is a way to help make it right. Malik looked at him. You think they'll listen? Russell paused, then smiled. They're already listening, but we need them to speak. 30 minutes passed. Malik turned to the kind man who'd offered his seat earlier. The man nodded and took the card, then whispered to the couple beside him. The card passed down the rows like a secret. One by one, discreet, silent. Every now and then someone would glance at Malik and just nod. No words. Just acknowledgement. And then turbulence. Not from the skies. From the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a slight systems error. Cabin crew will be walking through to verify seating and compliance. Cheryl again. Russell frowned. She's trying to reclaim control. Don't let her isolate you. Malik gripped the armrest as Cheryl began her slow walk from the back, pretending to check seatbelts. But this time, every step she took felt watched. Passengers weren't just quiet now. They were aware. A little boy leaned into the aisle and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Mommy, why's the lady mad at the man in the wheelchair? Dead silence, then whispers, then stares. And Cheryl froze, just for a second. But Malik saw it. That was the crack. Don't scroll. You've come this far. You need to see how this ends. And trust me, you'll never look at a flight attendant the same way again. The engines roared softly as the aircraft began its descent. The cabin lights dimmed, tray tables up, seat backs forward. But inside Malik's chest, a storm was brewing. Russell leaned in. They're preparing a statement. Before this flight ends, they'll try to frame it, twist it. You're now a disruption risk. Malik clenched his jaw. Disruption. Not disrespected, not discriminated against, but disruption. His crime. Sitting in the seat he booked, recording a woman who lied, existing in a space that didn't want him. As the seatbelt sign blinked on, Cheryl returned. She stood beside Malik's seat once more. This time, no smile. We'd like to ask you to remain seated after the plane lands. Security will be boarding briefly for a routine check. Nothing serious. Nothing serious. That's what they say before everything changes. Malik didn't flinch. He turned on his phone camera again. Silently this time. Cheryl noticed. Recording is prohibited on board, Russell cut in. He has every right to document this, especially under federal ADA and airline regulation codes. Cheryl's face hardened. This time she didn't argue. She walked away. The wheels hit the tarmac, the brakes hissed. The aircraft slowed to a halt. A normal flight would end here. But this wasn't a normal flight. 2 airport officers boarded, calm, official, and confused. Mr. Johnson? One said. Malik raised his hand slowly. That's me. The officer looked at his tablet, then at Malik, then at Russell. Russell stood. He flashed a badge. Department of Transportation, Civil Rights Division. This flight is under observation for active ADA investigation. You are being filmed. Proceed with caution. The tension in the cabin snapped like a rubber band. Passengers gasped. Phones came out. Cameras turned on. Even the ones who were silent earlier now couldn't stay quiet. From row 17, I saw everything. She tried to kick him out. From row 10, they wouldn't let me swap seats to help him. From row 5, she called him an inconvenience. Wait, I heard it with my own ears. It was no longer Malik's word against the airlines. It was dozens of witnesses against the lie. The officer turned back to Cheryl, now standing frozen in the galley. Ma'am, we need a statement. Did you request the passenger to move from an ADA-designated seat? Cheryl didn't speak. Her face turned white. Ma'am, still nothing. Until... She said I was blocking the aisle, Malik said, his voice steady, clear. I wasn't. I followed every rule, every policy. I didn't cause a scene. I was the scene. The other officer looked at his partner and quietly nodded. Mr. Johnson, you are free to deplane. Malik exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. But just before rolling forward, he turned to Cheryl. Do you want to say anything? Cheryl's lips moved, but no words came. Not a single one. As Malik exited the plane, passengers clapped. Not in pity, not in charity, but in solidarity. Outside the gate, reporters had already gathered, tipped off by a trending video uploaded just hours ago. Malik's clip now had over 1.7 million views. The hashtag #LetHimSit was exploding. And beside it, a new headline. Flight attendant under investigation after attempting to remove disabled student from assigned seat. Later that evening, the airline issued a statement. We deeply regret the incident involving Mr. Johnson and are conducting a full review. We are committed to inclusivity and the dignity of all our passengers. But the world had already seen the truth, because this wasn't about a seat. It was about how we see people and how silence is never neutral. Final message to the audience. Have you ever been made to feel small in a place where you had every right to be? Drop your story below. Let your voice join Malik's. This is no longer just a life story. It's our story. Comment justice if you believe this should never happen again. Share the story. You might save someone else's dignity tomorrow.